Thank you. Come on. Hey. That was the best formal introduction I've ever had. I liked it. One of the things the policy review committee is going to look at is a limit on the number of times someone can have a formal introduction in the club. I've been here 7 years. I joke that 7 years has been a long time to be with this group, but I love the club and I'll be here forever, I'm sure. But I do remember back to my first year being in the club, and one of the most confusing, scary, and intimidating aspects of belonging to this club was Lobsterfest, the first time I had to participate. Because it has been a juggernaut. It's built in its success year over year since the club's inception. Last year we held our 20th annual Lobsterfest. And so by the time a new member gets on board, and I was inducted in January, of course, May's not that far. And so plans are underway, and there are expectations on members, and a whole bunch of traditions and little inside jokes and things like that, and new members don't know a lot about it. So the purpose of today's meeting is going to be, for one, to tell all club members about what's been happening so far in planning for Lobsterfest. That'll be short. But it's also a chance for new members to learn a little bit about the event and to hear from some longer-serving club members about why it's a special event and important to our club. So what I hope to do is, it's about 5 to 1 now, I hope to take about 15 minutes for this part of the presentation, and then if you're an individual in the room who has said that they will commit to doing a job with Lobsterfest already, I'd like you to stick around for about 15 minutes afterwards. We're going to have our soft launch to the official committee meetings and just lay down the groundwork for what we're going to do in the coming months and plan our next meeting date. So if you are one of those people whom I've talked to, stick around. So first of all, what is Lobsterfest? It's our single most important fundraiser each year, and for the last few years anyways, it's netted us over $100,000. We use all of that money in our service work. That's not spent on the club's administration or operation. That all comes from Rita's hard work finding us a sergeant and the dues we pay and the meal stuff. So the money we're raising there is going back into the community and into the world. And I think largely our guests understand that and appreciate that, and that's why they're so generous with their support. Lobsterfest is also, I would hazard to say, a premier social event in Spruce Grove year over year. I don't know though, I mean, my Saturday nights are beer and hockey sometimes, so that's social. But it's regarded as a big event that a lot of people love to attend every year. It's a showcase for the good work we do. More so in more recent years, we've gotten better at using that venue where we've got 400 people to showcase what we're doing and explain what we're doing. So we'll continue to do that and make that a big part of the event. And it's an opportunity for all of us to serve together. And that's the part I think as a new member that I was most anxious about and unsure about, is how was I expected to serve. Before I get into that though, let's talk about what makes this event successful. Maybe the first one's a bit of a contentious one, but I would lay a lot of our success at the feet of Danny Hooper, our engineer. He is someone who draws a crowd, and he's been working with us since the inception of the event, and he continues to make us good money, and I suppose that's the bottom line. Besides it being an entertaining evening, it's a successful evening from that standpoint, the fundraising standpoint. I think despite the fact that costs in the event continue to rise, as they do in everything in life, we continue to provide great value for what our guests are paying to be there. And we are successful because we do really get engagement from all of the members of the club. I've been involved in the committee for the last few years, and at some point we always take stock of who's doing what. And it's rare to find a name that's not on the list somewhere, and usually it's because that person's out of the country for the month around Lobsterfest or something like that. So I think that's a key to the success, and so I'm hoping that we can continue to have that same engagement and participation. I think the other thing that keeps coming people back year after year, and I think keeps the event fresh even for members, is that there's always the element of surprise. This club hasn't been afraid to try new things at that event and new approaches. Some of them have been hugely successful. Larry Holland in drag. Some of them have been less than, like Hannibal Lecter. But you know, there are. I canvassed longtime members last year about what some of the memorable events are, and there's you know, just a ton of anecdotes that came out from Jerry Levasseux's rendition of "O Canada," the rapport that Mike Birdsall and Danny Hooper had on stage, huge balloon lobsters, pig roasts, making insane money on jet rides that we sold multiple times. And there are, you know, there's at the heart of it all, there's one story that is the beginning, the genesis of Lobsterfest, and that's the fact that at Lobsterfest, new members, we don't eat lobster for dinner. So if you've never been to the event, that might come as a surprise to you. Someone who was there or who knows the story well, can you just briefly, 2 or 3 minutes or less, tell, for the sake of the new members, what happened to the lobsters that night? Who'd like to do that, Jim Kulak?
Well, I can tell the story as I know it. It was the very first lobster event, and we were having lobster for dinner, and all the trimmings, and lo and behold, the lobster didn't show up in time. It either didn't show up from that supplier, it didn't show up in time, so we quickly had to improvise, and we had, I think it was roast beef for the dinner, and the lobsters came in a little bit later. This beefing we were catering. The lobsters came in, we either got them from a different source or they came in later. And we had lobster and Caesar salad and garlic toast at about, I think, about 11 o'clock at night. So we ate twice. And I think from now on, we just carried on with that tradition. Always having 2 dinners, hot lobster later on in the evening. Eventually it led to cold lobster, and you take it home with you.
Thanks, Jim. So yeah, don't be alarmed when you, if you got guests who say, well, I don't like seafood, they don't have to see a lobster the whole evening. Likewise, if they do like lobster, this event, ever since I've been in the club, has been a whole weekend event for my family, because we'll get together with our guests at Lobsterfest, have a great time, and then the next day we'll have a barbecue, and we'll barbecue the lobsters on the Sunday evening. So it becomes a good opportunity. This year, the committee running Lobsterfest, or organizing Lobsterfest, is largely the same committee as last year. There's been a little bit of a do-si-do. Last year, Nazar chaired, and I chaired the live. This year, I'm chairing the event. Nazar and Janice Scalzo are chairing the live auction team. There's basically, we break down into 4 committees, and then every other function flows from that. So, like I say, Janice and Nazar are looking after live. We have the 3 amigos, Larry Holland, Alan Pollich, and Jan Vanderby looking after the silent auction. Angus McKenzie is the banquet committee chairperson. And I'm looking for someone to chair the admin committee. And I would like to treat that person as the vice chair. I don't anticipate myself being away anytime between now and then, but it's good to have somebody in the know and somebody who's covering at every position. As you heard, most of the other committees have strong coverage from a number of people. So in the coming week, I will be asking people to volunteer in that capacity. Something new that we want to add to the committee structure this year is someone to look after a new aspect of the evening, the cash appeal. Now you may have heard, if you're a long-time club member, you may have heard Danny Hooper come to this group and talk about it. Victor, maybe I'll have you explain what's behind a cash appeal from an auctioneer standpoint.
Sure. Basically, if we pick a reason that we want to ask the audience that night for cash, a lot of times we would bring, say, an organization we wanted to donate to or whatever, and then Danny, at this time, after explaining this, would stand up and appeal to the audience there for a cash appeal, which could be, he may ask for $1,000 level or $500 level or $100 level or $10 level. But by simply putting up your bid card, you can add cash to whatever we want to appeal the cash for. Now, where that really works is, honestly, a lot of people do come to auctions and they are auctioned out. They bought all the silent stuff they can, they bought all the live auctions that they wanted to. But the cash appeal, what it can do is simply give a chance for people to donate. And then I've seen that, you know, in Denver when I was in training for auctioneer college there. I've seen a guy bring in $150,000 from that alone. I mean, I know that was extreme, but we could get. It's all about what we ask for the cash. If we set that stage up properly, it's amazing what you can get.
Yeah. This would mark an opportunity for our club that we've underutilized, in my opinion, and that's the fact that as a Rotary Club in District 5370, we have the District 5370 Charitable Foundation, which is separate from the Rotary Foundation, that big one that does all the worldwide work. This is a foundation for just the clubs in our district to use, and that's how we got the matching money for Augie's Cafe recently. But the purpose of that charitable foundation is for clubs to be able to issue charitable tax receipts for legitimate charitable donations without having to each be their own little registered charity. So with this cash appeal, as Victor mentioned, if we find the right cause that really has an emotional connection to the audience, and if it's one that's eligible to receive charitable funds, then we can actually issue charitable tax receipts for the cash appeal donations that are received. So Danny Hooper talked about the fact that, I can't remember which school it was in Edmonton, but Andrew, Janice, and I met with him early last year before the last auction, and they had the kids from this city school paint up lunch boxes because they were trying to solicit funds to support the lunch program throughout the year. And they had about 50 lunch boxes, and they were just sort of a token given to people who donated. But in about 3 minutes, they raised $100,000 for this lunch program. So it can be a very effective thing, and I think it's worth our club trying. And so I need somebody who will look after that aspect of the event. It's something new, it's something bold, and I want somebody in this room to champion that. Cosette, thank you. You'll have, thank you very much. You'll have the full resources of the club at your disposal to make this happen, Cosette. You know, we've got auctioneers in the room, Elizabeth, Victor, we'll have Danny, obviously.
I just am asking, is it the 31st?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, yeah, this year's event, I had a PowerPoint ready for today, but lo and behold, no one brought a computer. And it had May 31st right on the first slide, but yes.
Thank you.
Last Saturday of May 31st.
Can I ask a question about, I think this is a terrific idea, but personally, I think if I'm sitting there and he asks for a cash donation of $2,000, I'm probably not going to put up my hand, but some will. And then if he says, now I'm looking for a cash donation of $1,000, can we do that?
That's precisely how it runs.
Good.
So,
Is that right?
and that's why Victor says, you know, it's an opportunity for somebody who doesn't need more stuff
Yeah.
to get the recognition for the donation that they might be looking for their company or for
It's done in
themselves.
increments.
That's right. So you go down the room, even maybe right down to the $100 level. Logistically, it's going to present some challenges. You know, we're going to need people in the room to be recording those bid numbers and the levels of donations, but Cosette and her team that she puts together will be able to figure that out. Thank you so much. Yes, Cosette?
What is the theme?
Theme has yet to be decided. I know that the decorating committee is working on a color scheme. I'm hearing black and red is in the works, but the committee is not yet met. So theme will be one of the first things on our plate. And I would anticipate us having something to present to the club after the February meeting. What do you think?
Well, I would just hope that it's sooner than later, just because it makes everything so much easier.
Okay. Fair enough. So what do we need all of you in the room to do? Well, first of all, this morning you received an email. And if you are somebody who's attended Lobsterfest before, I want to hear your feedback about the event. What's working and what's not. It's an anonymous survey, so as long as you don't put your name on it, we won't know who's providing the opinions. But certainly, we want to know what's going well, we want to know what's horrible. This is the opportunity to float those opinions that you may think are unpopular ones, but maybe real ones that our club needs to face. Is it time to do away with the age-old tradition of serving lobster at 11 o'clock? Is it time to move out of the TLC? Should we slash the number of tables in half? Should we double the number of tables? These are the places to have those opinions heard. And I'll be realistic. I mean, some of the things are booked for this year. We are at the TLC. We will be using Danny Hooper for our auction. We are having a banquet. We've gone out for bids on the banquet already. You know, there are some things that are decided. We will be working with Windspire again on some of the live auction items. But your input will feed into what we can adjust for this event and will feed into subsequent years. Mark?
I would hate to see us get rid of the heads and tails. I think that Stoney made a big mistake this year. They did not have it. And I just think it just sort of opens up things and loosens up the evening and it's entertainment.
For sure.
And then we go, because Stoney didn't have it this year, and I just thought it was totally flat. No rejection of Stoney playing, but it just something was missing.
You're right.
That was very true, because I know that I started a lot of the auctions with that, and it was hard to get people to focus on the first item, the first couple items.
Yeah.
That's why the timing is critical, that the heads and tails are done just before Danny comes on, so that whoever does that committee, I don't want to have the pressure if I'm doing it again, not to do that.
Yeah.
You need to go on just before Danny goes on, because it gets everybody excited.
Yeah.
Cosette just wanted to win it again.
Yeah.
I was just going to put in
Well, Master Randy won, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, we've had a tradition of club members winning that.
I do have another question. When I used to teach school many years ago, the principal would never let us do a survey anonymously. And he had great reservations, because he said if you're bold enough to say it without signing your name to it, maybe you're not committed to it. And I just have a problem with leaving it for people to scribble out something and then not sign their name to it. Is there a reason why why somebody would say something and not sign their name to it?
That's honest.
I just wanted to remove any barriers to somebody providing what they felt might be contentious feedback. That's all. Put your name on it if you want.
This is an issue dear to my heart. I believe there should be no contention when we give feedback, whether positive or negative. There should never be an affront and a shame and embarrassment and attack because you said something you disagree with. I would hope we are all willing and able to share yay or nay on an idea and then focus on that idea. Personally, I've never done an anonymous survey. I've always put my name to it, and I will in this case, in any other case.
You're crazy, sit down.
I will.
Thanks for the feedback,
Andrew, it is the truth.
Now, here's what I intend to do with the results of that survey. I'll compile them. If you've had a look at the survey already, you'll know that they're all open-ended answers and they're all optional. So there's no check boxes or sliding scales or anything. It's all just a bunch of boxes for you to put comments in if you want. And I intend to collect those comments and share them with the entire club. So if they're attributable to a person and that person wants it known, it will be. Otherwise, it won't be. And this is not the end point. This is the beginning. This is data collection. This is just seeing what's floating around out there. And from then, we will have discussions in this room about what that's going to mean for Lobsterfest. So at that point, everybody will be able to take sides and debate and reflect the opinions that they hold dear. But that's point taken, Cosette. Besides filling out the survey, what do we need you to do? Well, get on the org chart. Those 4 committees that I listed, they each have about 20 duties under them. And I would have had them up here if I had the PowerPoint, but I'll share that later. And we need everybody to be participating in some way before the event, leading up to it. Whether that's helping with the decorating, helping with the live auction team, helping gather sponsorships, ton of stuff to do. In addition to whatever committee role you perform, we have an expectation that every member in this room will solicit donations for the silent auction of items, between 5 and 7 items. Now there's been some talk, and None of Jan, I'm not sure, I talked to Larry a little bit about this, but the number of silent auction items that we've had in the auction in the past has approached the 300 mark, somewhere between 275 and 300. There's some feeling that maybe that's too much, and maybe we should be looking at ways to aggregate some of the smaller items, combine them, augment them, put together more baskets and things like that, would reduce the overall number of items that we have, but maybe boost the value of some of the lower end ones a little bit. And Danny Hooper's written a new book, and I don't know when it's about to be published, but one of our members had the privilege of being an editor of that book, and I think she'll talk a little bit more about that as we get going. So, but we still need the raw materials for that, so we still need members out there asking businesses for donations of items to the auction. We also wanted to hear your live auction item ideas. This year we're going to hold fast to a dozen items or less in the live auction. We're going to drop off some of the ones that were real crowd killers. No more gift certificate frenzy. That was created to deal with, basically what it is Danny's auctioning off the gift certificates as opposed to them sitting on silent auction tables and going for less than their value. And though we get a good return on investment when he does it that way, we totally kill the mood in the room, and last year it was very evident. So we're getting rid of that for one thing, and that'll lessen it right away. We will also try and curtail selling things in couples, which was another big mood killer. So what we're looking for is, we still want a range of different values of items in the live auction, but we're going to try and hold to a dozen. We will be using Winspire, who's a fundraising package company out of California, mainly because we've had good experiences selling their items in the last couple of years, and because we have a credit with them this year, based on events from last year's auction. So we will be working with them again. But
Can you explain about selling couples? You get that?
The dinner with Mayor, the Eskimos game at Boston Pizza, they're trying to sell that in couples for $500 a couple. How many couples will you take? That flopped. Same as the jet ride with Stuart Houston was sold in couples, and that one we did eventually sell in couples, but Danny bogged down doing that. He'd prefer not to do it that way. Some things work that way, other things don't. It really depends on the night, and we need to leave that up to Danny to make the call on it. So I would say that for the new members in the room, one of the most important things you can do right away is start thinking about businesses you know in the community that you could get donations from. This is a point that I'll be working with the silent auction team on carefully, because I think we do a really poor job at covering the community and asking all of the businesses for donations. The Chamber of Commerce website has hundreds and hundreds of businesses listed, albeit I know some of those don't necessarily have a storefront or anything like that. But the point being, I did an analysis of our donors last year when we were concerned about our date matching up with Stony Plains' date. And we only draw items from about 150 different businesses. And that represents a small fraction of the businesses that are in the area. So we could do more to be reaching out to a greater number of businesses. And I don't necessarily think that means cold calling businesses or going to businesses that we don't patronize. But I'm thinking that in this room we can take a little bit more of a concerted approach. My first year getting auction items, I went into a business that Merle traditionally had a relationship with. And I said, I had a letter asking for a donation, and the woman behind the counter said, "Oh, is Merle not doing this year?" I said, "No, she will be coming around soon. Thank you for your time." But I was a brand new member. I didn't know about those relationships and who went where, and I still don't. And so it still probably happens to some of us from time to time.
Same story for me, and so therefore I don't actually ask any in the community because I don't know who I can ask. So maybe we have to have some kind of a list that stay away from.
And we'll be looking to the, I think probably a good starting point would be a list of Rotarians and donors that they got donations from last year. That's a good starting point. Then you can think of businesses that you know that aren't on that list. But yeah, I'll be working with the silent team on getting that right away. So I think unless there are more questions, that about concludes.
Maybe speaking to bigger issue about the club's initiatives about marketing and advertising. Do we have a social media plan and how we might integrate social media into the promotion of our auction?
I'll defer to Tony.
Okay.
Well, it depends upon how you want to approach things, because the way I understand it, we're not really selling tickets to a public. Like, and so in terms of social media, that's where I would see an automatic appeal. But if you're talking about how things went, some of the things that we publish in our website already, I already do Facebook in that regard.
The Royal Club Spruce Grove has a Facebook page?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
They unfriended you a long time ago.
We've had Facebook, and so we've done still photos, we've done video. Just for since we're talking about it, I would really love more people to go to our Facebook page and like it and become friends with it, and then share it amongst your own group of Facebook. We publish at least one thing every week, typically 2 or 3 things, still photos, stories, video.
The adjunct to that is the conversation Danny and I had after the auction last year is quite clearly one of the messages he wanted to get across was don't discount your younger entrepreneurs that are arising and how to communicate with them. We commonly go to the well for a lot of our old contributors, and he said very clearly that we may be missing an opportunity to connect with young, successful business entrepreneurs. And one of the ways they communicate is social media.
Going well taken.
Can I talk to most of the thing with the advertising, which Facebook would be, is you're not allowed to, under our current license, which we pay $50 for, I think, $25.
License being liquor
The
license.
liquor license. It is only through invited guests of members. That's why we give everybody a book of tickets. You go invite those people, and there's nothing in print. If we do go to a social media site, it'll cost us about $500 for the license. Maybe more, plus a lot more work.
Yeah, I think we need to think longer and a bigger picture about this stuff. I mean, we need to acknowledge that social media is another way to communicate our message to the public.
Well, and that communication may not be about asking people to buy tickets. It might be
Yeah, it may be
something
promotion of the event, it may give them an opportunity to make donation to the club, maybe connection to the club. There's a bigger issue more than just selling tickets here that I'm bringing to life.
Just further to that, I know last year we talked about kind of sending out emails to the invited guests, or just kind of give them a bit of a sneak kind of preview of what's in the auction or some of the, so I don't know if that's kind of aligned with
It's all about promotion.
yeah, just, to give them a little bit more of a sneak preview of what's in the auction, whether silent or some of our big live auction items, so.
Right.
And we got very little mileage out of that last year for a number of reasons. We didn't get a lot of email addresses, and live auction items weren't solidified until it was so near the event, we didn't do it.
Victor.
I agree solely with Danny's comment to you, and I think that maybe we could do something the night of the auction to start this moving forward. Maybe we can do something to connect that crowd that night, because we know that 90% of the young entrepreneurs have their iPhones and iPads, or they got their phones with them. Maybe there's something we can do that night to promote that. I don't know what that is, but by join, something to do along that line. Just a suggestion.
We have a Facebook account. I presume we don't have a Twitter account?
We do have a Twitter account, but I've done nothing with it.
Well, maybe.
I forgot the password and stuff. If you send it to me, I'll activate it.
Password is.
I'm not sure why we're spending that much time on this, because we're always sold out.
Yeah.
No, I'm speaking about ticket sales.
No,
I'm looking at social media as another way to connect with potential donors or contributors to the auction.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Ticket sales are not the driver of communication here. We know we sell out.
Yeah.
But an opportunity for a new business in the community to know there's a big event to promote themselves, potentially, at that the Rotary Club is doing, that would be
And
helpful.
Like
And
the
to-
campground.
and to educate people about what we do. I was speaking to a woman yesterday. They've asked me to make a presentation about our club to their group, and the first question she asked me was, is Rotary open to women? I mean, it's 2014, we're still
What'd you
getting
say?
that question. I gave them my personal address. Anyway, so there's a lot of misinformation, but also mostly non-understanding of what we do. And I think that's what Andrew's getting at, making ourselves known and what we do and what we support via social media at the event, after the event.
Since we have a member from the local paper right here in front of me, I'm wondering, have we thought about going back to the monthly article about what we're doing?
Well, I wasn't aware of a monthly article, but I do know that the paper under Dear Thomas here and previous editors have been very supportive of what we've done, and they've covered it extensively.
Well,
So
I know, but I hate to say this all the time, but when I was in the St. Albert Club, in the St. Albert Gazette, once a month in the top left corner was a nice sized article about what we're doing this month and, who we are supporting,
Right.
just keep it in front of people.
we have had about a 90% success rate in getting something published in the paper every week, with photo and short stories, and sometimes longer stories have been generated of things we've done. So from my perspective, we're getting very good coverage.
Well, it's something that I'll commit to doing is asking for a media strategy for the event specifically that will encompass both social media and traditional media, and that'll be a bigger part of this year.
I'll help out.
Thank you, Andrew. Hold on, Jan has a comment, and then to the back there.
Brad, I don't know if I missed it, maybe I had an unconscious moment here. Did you talk about the super silent?
I didn't. That's going to be one of the topics that the committee will discuss. My general feeling right now personally, and I've heard it echoed by a couple of people, is that, well, first of all, there's no denying it was successful from a return on investment standpoint. The super silent items, as a whole group, earned us more near, it was 105% of estimated retail value, which is far surpasses what the silent auction itself did. So from a profitability standpoint, it worked. There was a lot of time and energy invested in it. It wasn't coordinated necessarily as well as it could have been from a planning standpoint because we didn't have a committee structure in place. It became a working relationship between the silent and live committees to jockey about which items were going to go where. My feeling is it won't be back this year. I think in order for the super silent to stay super, we might do it to commemorate special occasions, but it'll be less and less super the more often we do it. The focus this year would be boosting the overall value of the silent auction items, so that that's not seen as the place to go get ball caps and lawn chairs, but that there are attractive items from start to finish in the silent auction. I'm sorry, yes?
Just pardon my ignorance, because I'm the newbie in the group, and I don't know what you've done before, having not attended Lobsterfest myself. When you're talking about approaching new businesses and that type of thing, have you made a presentation to the chamber in Spruce Grove at all about what Rotary does and what this being your biggest fundraiser of the year?
We did one presentation a year ago to their State of the City annual general meeting. There were about 150 people in the room. We did do that. But
It wasn't specific to the Lobsterfest, right?
no, it wasn't. It was a general overview. We got to play. We have a video that at that point ran about 45 minutes of what we did on the background, and I spoke for a while, and Victor cheered right after I finished speaking.
Tony, it might be a good idea to do that again and mention, Brad, I hate to use you, but I'm going to use you. The one year when we were at Lobsterfest and the year you were president, in your thank you speech, I'll never forget that speech, but you talked about what Rotary did and what this event, what the money went towards. locally and how it helped this group, that group, and what we did. That stuck with me, and the people at our table had no idea that Rotary had actually done this for this group and helped with this until your thank you. So I don't really think a lot of people, except for the people that we give the money to, have any idea what we do.
Well, and speaking more to that, not even knowing necessarily what the club did, because, I mean, I came to you by way of Girl Guides of Canada, which I was a big member of, and then through Judy. But the only reason that we came and approached the Rotary for some help with a fundraising issue with Girl Guides was because of Arlene. And you work with Marilyn Vick, or you know Marilyn Vick very well, and she was my co-leader. So really, I don't know that there is enough knowledge in the community, and especially with new businesses that come into our community, new members that move to Spruce Grove, that know, they've heard of Rotary Club, but I don't think they know what you do, because I don't even know if that I know totally what you do, and I'm here.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Yeah.
There needs to be a great more effort put into promoting, and it just takes time, and it's a continuous presence.
but that might be, with the chamber, at least a way to bring a little bit more to, by way of approaching businesses, because I'm sure the same businesses in the Grove get approached year after year after year after year after year, because everybody knows Elizabethan, and everybody, do you know what I mean? But maybe there's Tammy's Massage that's willing to donate something because she's new to the community and would like to, there you go.
Down, Amber, down.
We may have reserved bid for all that. There's a reserve bid, and reserve bid. Now, we're at 1:30, so Kazette and Andrew, and then I think we're going to have to shut this down.
Okay, I just want to make one last comment with regards to the theme. I have this broken record thing in my head. I think all these things are very, very critical to be reflected towards a theme, and the theme will tie everything together and make everything so much easier to focus and to get done. The idea of, you know, the young entrepreneurs and social media in the background and, you know, blah, blah, blah. If you have your theme solidified and you start aiming at that, you know, how we're going to, through decorating and through everything, it all comes together. Again, we need to do that.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Andrew?
No, I was just going to try to get that thing back on the rails. I didn't mean us to get any promotion, Tony, I'm sorry.
You know, the fact remains that this is a good discussion, and...
No, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I also just want to say, I remember that speech too. After I woke up, I finally got to...